in our lifetimes, and arguably one of the biggest in the history of Congress. And so I think at the end of the day, we'll get that consensus. And, there may be some grumbling about certain provisions, but as the whip said so aptly this morning in the conference meeting, he said, you gotta focus on the totality of the bill and not just individual details. But my job is to work out those details, and I'm very confident that we're going to get to that point by the end of this week, and we'll move this thing forward. So, yeah. Second row.
Thank you. Last week, the House passed 3 CRA resolutions terminating California vehicle emissions rules, but Senate Majority Leader John Thune is yet to make a decision to take up those resolutions or not. How confident are you that congressional Republicans can get these resolutions to the president's desk?
I've got a lot of confidence in Leader Thune. We work together very closely, almost daily, and he's managing a small margin as I am. Both of us now have 3 votes to spare. It's an embarrassment of riches, so he's got to do consensus building on it as well. I suspect every Republican's for that, but of course he's got to get about 7 Democrats to come along on everything, and that's the tough part. And Leader Schumer over there and the Democrats have made very clear they don't have much intention of getting anything done at all. They just want to stop all the progress. And I know a lot of Californians that are very, very excited, very happy that we took that big step, and I hope the Senate can get it done. But I don't know what their time frame is. Front row.
Speaker Johnson,
Yeah.
How do you use reconciliation to remove illegal immigrants from Medicaid, and how do you confidently estimate the savings from that?
Well, it's not my estimation. I mean, these numbers come from the CBO and very credible sources. We have a pretty accurate count, we think, of how many are on the rolls in some of these states, and now we have a tabulation of what it will save the taxpayers to kick them off. And as I mentioned, I mean, public polling is squarely on our side on this. I mean, you cannot have an open doormat. You can't have an open border. Thankfully, President Trump has closed it now. But for 4 years, it was wide open, and we sent the message to everybody around the world, come here and you can get on the taxpayers' wagon, and that's just not, it's not right, it's not lawful, it's not morally correct. And we're gonna fix it in reconciliation. So stay tuned. There'll be a lot of savings for the American people, and I think it'll be wildly popular when we get it done. Yeah, back third row. Yeah.
So some of your colleagues have suggested this week that D.C. District Judge James Boasberg is being assigned a disproportionate number of, quote, high-profile cases related to the Trump administration. What is your take on that? Is it the view of House Republicans that the D.C. federal court isn't following judicial conference policy for random assignment on cases?
That's the first I've heard of the allegation, to be honest. I mean, I was a federal court litigator, and I don't have any evidence that they're, it's supposed to be a random drawing, and so far as I know, that's what's happening. I mean, we do have real concern about that individual judge and some of the decisions he's made. But look, I mentioned this to some colleagues this morning. When I used to litigate cases, I would run into activist judges on occasion, but I never walked out of the courthouse thinking that I would have the ability to impeach them. I just thought I need to get this to the appellate court as soon as possible to get them overturned, and we had a great success rate in that. Activist judges need to be addressed, and we passed the No Rogue Rulings Act a few weeks ago, Darrell Iss's bill, that would really solve that problem in a silver bullet. That's another thing we really hope the Senate can move. It shouldn't be a partisan issue. I mean, everybody, Republicans and Democrats, should want fair judges. I mean, that's our system of equal justice depends upon that, and it's gotten out of control. So I don't know. There are lots of allegations and concerns about it, but I haven't seen any proof of that. So yeah, go ahead, Jake.
You were asked about the Senate, what you expect the Senate to do with your reconciliation bill in the conference today. Will they just change a bunch of the stuff? And I think there's concern about that from a lot of your members. I mean, give me your sense. I mean, how much you talk about your coordination with them. How much do you think, or how much do you expect that the Senate will want to put its own imprint on this?
Well, look, we got some strong leaders in the Senate. They're all friends and colleagues of ours. We truly regard this as one team. I know that's an innovation in Washington. I know the House and Senate are supposed to be fighting each other all the time, but that's not the game we're playing. And I've been very deliberate, and Leader Thune has as well, to have no daylight between the two chambers. So there shouldn't be any big surprises. I mean, they're following very closely what we're doing, and vice versa. But the lion's share of the work has been done in the House, not by virtue of pride of authorship or because there's a competition between the two chambers, but just because that's the way the calendar fell. Remember, we started working on this in March of last year, and the Senate was going through lots of other things during that time period. They had a change in their leadership because Leader McConnell stepped down. They had a lot of turnover there. And they had to do, at the beginning of the first 100 days, they had to, of course, do all the confirmations of the administration, and they did it in record time to their great credit. But by virtue of that calendar, it meant that the House did a ton of the work. I mean, we're probably 8 months ahead of the Senate by some measures in and all the deliberations and the detail work. So that by necessity means that we'll drive the initial product and send it over, and that's really the way the system is supposed to work anyway on a budget reconciliation. So we're going to be very proud of the product we send over there. I don't expect that it will take much modification. I hope there's very little at all, and that we can have an agreement. But the difference now and in years past, perhaps, is that our colleagues over there know exactly what we're doing. We're in careful, close communication, and with the White House team as well. So we're not sending over some package, that they'll receive blindly and not know what's in it. Everybody knows what we're working on and why, and the discussions we're having, and we're keeping them abreast of all of it. And if there are individual senators who have a problem, I'm apt to reach out to them myself, and committee chairs are as well. There's been very close coordination between the committee chairs on the matching jurisdictions on each side. So, look, I think that's going to make the process work really well in the end. That's my expectation.
Last question.
Back row. Back row.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to follow up on your comments about Congressman Ison's bill on judges. So, are judicial impeachments off the table for the rest of this Congress?
No, look, impeachments are never off the table if it's merited. But in our system, we've had 15 federal judges impeached in the entire history of the country. I mean, there may be some that I feel merit that, but you got to get the votes for it, right? And it's a very high burden, and frankly, the bar is high crimes and misdemeanors. I mean, the last federal judge that was impeached, I think, it was caught taking cash in an envelope. It's like it's got to be a pretty brazen offense, a real open crime that everybody could agree to. So short of that, if we don't have the votes, and by the way, even if we could get an impeachment article through the House on a federal judge, it's unlikely that they would be tried and convicted in the Senate on that with the divided number we have. So short of that, what can we do? I mean, we've done everything within our power to solve that problem. And remember the stats. I think it's 67% of all national injunctions issued against a president in the last 100 years were against one president, and his name's Donald J. Trump. 90% of those were from openly, Democrat-appointed judges that many would regard as this other judge as activists or people venue shop to get in their courts. So we all know it's a real problem. It's not what the Founding Fathers intended. So what can we do? Using our power in the House, Darrell Iss's bill is a great response. The No Rogue Rulings Act would prohibit a single individual judge from issuing a nationwide injunction like that to stop the entire policy of an administration. I think that is a very common sense standard, and one that would kind of get back to the original intent and eliminate the ability of just one activist to just stop everything. And it's very reasonable legislation. We passed it through the House. We sent it to the Senate with every expectation that they should be able to take that up, and I certainly hope they can, because, again, it shouldn't be a partisan issue. It should be something that every American agrees with. We've got to restore faith in our system of justice, and it was eroded over the last 4 years on the Biden administration for all the reasons we know, and have recounted here many times. And it falls to us to make sure that people can believe. Lady Justice has a blindfold for a reason, right? That the symbol is that it's equal justice under law, as it's chiseled into the marble above the Supreme Court's entrance when you walk in. We have to restore that. If you don't have the people's faith in a system of justice and fair judges, then you don't have anything in a republic. And that's why this is so important. We'll keep advancing it. Thanks so much for the time.
Leaders, please, can I ask about the FBI, the House Intel report, just quickly?
Yeah.
So I saw your statement expressing some concerns after you've read the report. You're asking the FBI director to look into that. What exactly are your concerns, and how high do you think that this went at the FBI?
So if you go back to 2017, after the baseball shooting, the FBI had brought in the members of the team. Roger Williams was one of those members who was part of that briefing. And at that meeting, they went through some of the information. Some of it was classified, some of it wasn't. But they ultimately let us know what their conclusion was, and that's when they said it was classified as suicide by cop. And I'll tell you, I was offended. I think all of us there were highly offended that that was the conclusion that the FBI in 2017 came to, because it wasn't what happened on the baseball field. He went there with the intention of killing all of us on the baseball field, and he had a list in his pocket of other Republicans he wanted to kill. It was very politically motivated, and it was clear they suppressed a lot of facts. And what the FBI report that Kash Patel's FBI came out with today shows they suppressed factual evidence to reach a different conclusion than what the facts led to show. Suicide by cop was not the conclusion. They ultimately changed it to domestic terrorism, and I applaud the new FBI for making that change in the justification, but they also revealed some of the other facts that were suppressed. The fact that it was politically motivated, even though they had some of that factual evidence, they hid that because they didn't want to make it look like it was politically motivated. You know, I mean, look, the guy went there and not only tried to kill all of us. I had 2 Capitol Police officers with me on my detail. He tried to kill both of them. Suicide by cop is not when you try to kill everybody around, including the cops. And by the way, he didn't even know they were cops because they were dressed in plain clothes. And he had every intention of carrying out a politically motivated message. He wrote about it, and they had that evidence, and they suppressed it. So it was very disappointing. We walked out of the meeting that day because we were so infuriated that that was their conclusion. I'm glad that Kash Patel is getting the FBI back to a fact-based organization where they follow the evidence, not try to have a pre-disclosed conclusion, but where they actually look at the facts and make their conclusion based on the evidence. That's what he's done with this new report. And I think it's important that they got it right. It's also important that they find out who the people were that suppressed evidence for a political motivated reason.
Do you believe that, where do you believe that political motivation came from?
I don't know. You know, we saw that some of those agencies were unfortunately being used for political purposes, to go after political enemies, to try to carry out political vendettas. It's not why they're there. Regardless of, you know, in the Gabby Gifford shooting, all of us, I was a member, a fairly new member of Congress at the time, and, you know, we were devastated by that attempt on Gabby's life, but we also wanted to know what happened. We just wanted to know the facts. And if it led this direction or that direction, it didn't. It really shouldn't have mattered to the people going out to find the facts. The intelligence agencies should have been just looking for the facts, not trying to have their own conclusion confirmed by suppressing evidence. And yet that's what they did. Thank you.